I'm Julia Davis, a film major who stumbled into the business world with no experience in 2006. I was able to fail enough to learn how to run a seven-figure business and have provided consulting services to over 200 individually owned companies. Through this podcast, I hope to provide some perspective on the growth and grit it takes to accomplish big goals and share some hard lessons I've had to learn along the way. Today on the Growth and Grit podcast, we're going to be talking about assets versus liabilities. If you've ever wondered if you're a contributor to a company, either as an employee of that business or as a business owner, this will give you a guide to figure out where you're at if you're currently an asset or you're a liability to the company or to yourself. A lot of times we don't know why we're not growing or we feel stuck in the position that we're in. And sometimes it's an easy solution to get out of that, but it's a lot of work personally to overcome whatever challenge or obstacle might be standing in the way from you turning into an asset for yourself or an asset for the company that you're working with, or even an asset for your own business to be an example to others. So, as I go through these five different categories, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And if you're a 6 to a 10 on a category, then you're falling more towards the asset. If you're below a 6 on a category, it means you're falling more towards a liability in that field. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the mentality overall. So a 10 on mentality would be somebody who asks to be put in the hardest situation. So a person that's really confident in their mentality will say, where can I go that's going to give me the biggest challenge? What can I do to put myself in a challenging scenario so that I can succeed and show what I'm capable of doing? A one would be somebody who comes in every day and just needs to be built up because they're either struggling with their self-esteem or they're struggling with something in the job and they need to make a phone call and they need to be built up somehow by someone in order to feel like they can do the job. And that's a one. And that's considered a liability because if you're waiting for somebody to continuously build you and you don't have the ability to do that yourself, not everybody has the energy to do that. But also, it just becomes a drain on the rest of the people around you. And there was a study that showed even in a group of positive people, if you put one negative person in that group, productivity went down by 40%. So try not to be that person and try to put yourself in challenging situations so that you can really see growth and development in yourself and the people around you. So that's the mentality category. 10, put me in the hardest situation, give me the toughest challenge. Let me see if I can do it. A one, you avoid that and you say, hey, I just need help today. I just need to be built. I just need someone to tell me I'm great. That's definitely a one on mentality. The second thing is accountability. In a lot of businesses, there's a major lack of accountability. So when it comes to rating yourself as an asset versus a liability, an accountability 10 would be taking fault for anything that you were involved in. If it were a decision that you could have made differently, even if it's three levels down from where you're at, if you're the business owner, you are accountable. You hired that person, you gave that person a job, you put that person in charge of somebody else, you conducted the interview, you're accountable in some way. So the accountability is crucial for your level of success in being an asset to your business. That would be a 10, accountability for everything and saying, how was I involved in this? How could I have done it differently? A one is somebody who has excuses for everything. And they point the finger and they say, well, I would have been successful if the situation would have happened, or if I would have had a different manager, or if I would have been at a different situation, or if I would have had a different client or customer or process or city or something like that. And that is a one because that person has no control over their success or failure. They think it's all determined by outside influence, which is not the case. So when you feel like you have no control over what you're doing and life is just handed to you, you're probably a 1 out of 10 on that category. So figure out where you are in accountability. If something went wrong today, would you be willing to take fault for it if you were involved in some way? And don't just say yes, like really challenge yourself and think about it. If a project went south and you had some type of level of involvement, how accountable would you be to that? Or would you blame it on someone else? Okay. Number three is troubleshooting. So this is thinking about Do you find a way to solve a problem? So there's two types of people. There's a problem solver and there's a problem finder, right? The problem finder identifies the negative, but doesn't typically solve it. A problem solver goes in and solves the problem. And maybe no one ever even has to know that that problem existed because that person is so efficient at solving the problem. So think about troubleshooting and who you are in that scenario. Did you find the solution, or are you just going to think of like, I'm going to do better tomorrow, right? This is a troubleshooting one is somebody who accepts a loss and thinks they're going to just do better tomorrow. A troubleshooting 10 is somebody who does not leave until the job is done. A 10 is like, hey, all this stuff happened. And that's why I stayed late or I figured it out and I became successful. A 1 is somebody who says, "All this stuff happened and that's why I couldn't get it done, but I'm gonna try more tomorrow." So, if you wanna be successful in any business, you gotta lean more towards that 10 and try to figure out a way around challenges because they're going to be present. It's just what are you gonna do? Are you gonna run or are you gonna face it and move forward? So, that's the troubleshooting. That's number 3. Number 4 is financial discipline. This is a personal overhead issue. A lot of people have hard time saving money or investing because they might be lower on the liability side of this. So, a lot of complaints happen in businesses where people say they're not making enough money or, they need to be paid more, but they've never packed their own lunch. Instead, they buy snacks at 10, noon, 2 o'clock. They spend $16 a day on food and they wonder where their paycheck went. Um, Oh, a 10 on this has, like, auto bill pay, they pack their lunch, they live, below their means so that they can afford whatever salary or whatever hourly or commission that they're able to afford it because they really put a lot of pressure on their habits and not just, like, what's convenient. So if you rate yourself low on this, get some books and try to figure out how you can budget better. A good challenge for you would be printing out your bank statement, highlighting things that are unnecessary expenses, and add those up at the end of the day or the end of the week and figure out how much you're spending on things that you could be saving money on. A lot of times it's as easy as packing your snacks and your lunch and not buying them from wherever you are. Um, but there's a lot of different unnecessary expenses that I've seen young entrepreneurs spend money on that are totally unnecessary. Anybody who has built massive levels of wealth lived way below their means for years. So, it doesn't matter what other people think of you. The goal is long-term success. So, hopefully you can figure out how to create more financial discipline because if you don't do it, chances are people you're training will follow your lead. So, this is really, really important. The last one, number 5, is coachability. So when somebody gives you feedback, do you put your guard up immediately? That would be like a 1, right? Somebody who puts their guard up is not open to feedback and doesn't have like the emotional intelligence to understand that feedback is necessary for growth. Feedback is really the only way you're going to get better. And so if people are nervous to give you feedback or you don't receive it well, you're limiting your ability to grow. So how coachable are you? The better the student, the better the coach that shows up for that student. So it's not owed to you, right? Coaching is not owed to you. But if you are an unbelievable person to coach, then great coaches will show up to coach that person, just like in professional athletics, it's the same thing. The best quarterbacks sometimes get paired with the best coaches, right? Because they are qualified. So a 10 out of this would be somebody who has a great work ethic, who has, all the tools to be coached and will apply feedback immediately. And will say, okay, maybe they have questions about it, but they will apply whatever is happening. If there's a qualified person giving feedback, they will take that feedback and apply it immediately. Urgency is key in any business. Most businesses in general it takes time to do anything. But in some industries, speed is key. And in a lot of industries, speed is key. So the faster you can apply something, the faster you can do something, the more of an asset you will be to whatever industry that you're in. So take a look at these 5 things that I went over and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 as far as mentality, accountability, troubleshooting, financial discipline, coachability, figure out where you're at in those 5 categories and see what you can do to move the needle for yourself slightly. Because if you can master all 5 of these things, you will see major career growth and development. Thanks so much for being on today. I appreciate it. And hopefully, this can help you on your journey to success.